use this to kind of introduce the design thinking methodology. Following user-centered design thinking, the first step toward a solution that would successfully meet the needs of a user is to first ask why. Why is this a problem? Why and how does waste impact people? And the first thing to do is appreciate the needs of others before diving into necessarily coming up with ideas. So just to give you a definition of design thinking, it's an iterative process in which we seek to understand the user, challenge assumptions, and redefine problems in an attempt to identify alternative strategies and solutions that might not be instantly apparent. Design thinking relies on our ability to be intuitive, to recognize patterns, to construct ideas that have emotional meaning as well as functionality. So the important point here is that is to understand the user, to uncover needs, insights, nuances that might have been overlooked otherwise. So this might be a little bit different from what you might instinctively do, which may be to start thinking of ideas and encouraging wild solutions. But that might lead to an unconscious exclusion of certain users, or you might create something that people don't really want to use. So it's really important to try to engage with users early on. This is the DFA design process. So first off, defining the problem space you're working on, then immersing yourself in stakeholders and users' perspectives by doing some user research, reframing the problem. So this involves defining the change you want to make in order to fuel your ideation. In ideation, you generate a variety of ways to make changes and explore many alternatives. Then you build, so that's creating tangible prototypes and trying to communicate your ideas in order to test it and get feedback from users and try to reiterate on that design. So that previous slide showed it as a very linear process, but I wanted to note that it's not always super straightforward. You might need to revisit certain parts of the process. So for example, you might start researching your user and then you get really excited and start to come up with ideas. So you go into ideation and then go into reframe to try to structure it a little bit more, go back to ideation. After you've done some prototyping and testing, you might realize like, oh, maybe we're not going down the right path. So you might revisit your reframe and deciding what your measures of success are, what your goals are, and kind of going through that cycle again. So as you can see, as time progresses, there might be multiple like inner loops going through this design process. So I wanted to talk about defining a problem space, the first step, identify. So a problem space is different from a problem. The problem is this whole clumpy mess situation, and you want to just zoom into a specific aspect of that problem. So defining a user, a behavior, a place or situation. So for example, this is a how can we statement. So that's what the HCW stands for. But this gives you a specific targeted problem space. So how can we encourage patrons who are the user to intuitively scrape their plates, so the behavior, in a cafeteria, a place. And this gives you a much narrower scope to try to tackle. So this is where we're talking about user-centered research in the immerse phase now. What's the value of user-centered research? You're able to cultivate data with a soul. And that's important because it motivates your project with a clear purpose. People can align with stories more than they can with hard statistics. And at the end of this immerse phase, you should be able to create a user persona like this one, for example. You can see that this is a clear image of who you're designing with, and it provides a perfect setup for telling a story about the interaction between your user and your solution. How do you cultivate data with a soul? It starts with empathy, being able to put yourself in the perspective of the user or other stakeholders. It helps you uncover needs that you were not aware of and understand emotions that lead to certain behaviors. You might not notice it, but you practice empathy almost every day. When you talk to a struggling friend with empathy, your friend leaves with a feeling that they were understood. And that's what you want with a user as well. Now, how do you start building that sense of empathy towards a user? Research, a lot of research. So that could be interviews, surveys, observational studies. And it's important to, just like this little boy in the picture, to adopt a beginner's mindset, be curious, don't judge their emotions, and use active listening skills. So make sure you're listening to them and not just thinking about what you're going to say next. So some tips for interviewing. This is a good visual to keep in mind. The process is all about building trust. So you start with you and your project's purpose, start with general questions so they are kind of primed and ready for the more detailed questions, and ask for stories. So tell me about a time when blank, and let them think. Give them time and space to think about what their responses are. And during all of that, it's great to take notes and record. And what I like to do is take notes on Post-its. So I have a whole stack of Post-its at the end of the session, and I immediately do a little chart, like put it up on a whiteboard or a virtual whiteboard, and try to organize my thoughts. And creating something like the chart on the right is helpful because it kind of helps you build a user persona. Alrighty, so you've done your research, you have all of these sources of insights and like photos, stories, notes, statistics, facts. And now it's time to kind of make sense of that data. It's important to do this synthesis step in order to collect your insights, which guide your project's trajectory. You can kind of think of them as like breadcrumbs leading to your solution. So some synthesis techniques I'd like to share. So for example, clusters, you can have different colored Post-it notes for each source. So for example, like an article versus interviews or surveys, and you can kind of group those in various categories of needs or desires or behaviors that you've noticed. And that kind of helps you see like, oh, like I'm seeing a trend in like my surveys and my interviews, they're all saying the same thing, which can kind of help you help lead you toward certain insights. Spatial mapping is great for experiences, like spatial experiences or architecture design, things like that, where you can see like the flow through a space and understand what aspects of that space lead to a certain experience. In the bottom left, we have a diagram. This is kind of like a value chain or supply chain where you can kind of, you're able to see like what kind of emergent behavior is possible. So that can kind of help you narrow down on what kind of difference you can make in this chain. And then we have matrices. So this helps you can have different Post-its or different needs and desires and rate them on these scales to understand what are the most unmet needs or desires. So the next step is to reframe and define the change you want to make. So the goal is to come up with a more narrow how can we statement, design goals and measures of success that help fuel your ideation process. So first off, narrowing your how can we statement. These are some examples. So you start with the broad scope of how can we encourage kids to eat healthy, but after doing your research, you may have noticed a specific aspect of that problem that you really want to zoom into. So a narrower scope is how can we create a shopping experience in grocery stores that engages kids and rewards healthy choices. So that's kind of jam-packed with more information and can help you do some more like narrow ideation. And on the right, we have another example. How can we reduce hospital-acquired infections? So the narrow how can we is, how can we help hospital staff sanitize their hands at all critical points? So here you can see it has the core elements of how can we, a user, behavior, and location or situation. Okay, and then another aspect of the refrain step reframe step is turning insights into design goals. So these are the same projects from the previous slide, but yeah, so an example insight from Fruit Buddy team. Children are more likely to eat something if they pick it out themselves, but there is little opportunity to do so in grocery stores. So the design goal there is to give children a sense of agency and selection. So you can see that the design goal doesn't describe the intended solution outcome. It actually explains like ways you can achieve them. So like the how of meeting the how can we statement. And then determining measures of success. So you want to figure out what tangible metrics you can have to describe your end goals. And it gives you clarity and focus to your ideation. And it's important to figure out metrics that you can actually influence. So for example, for the Swipe Sense team on the previous side, where they're trying to reduce hospital-acquired infections, it might be hard for them to it might not make sense for them to have a goal of reducing all infections by 50%, because that's kind of not something that they can completely control. But something that you could measure is the frequency of hand sanitation, because that is a number that you're more likely to be able to track, especially given their design goals. And then that leads into the ideation phase. So at this point, I'll switch it over to Maria. Any questions in the transition?
Oh yeah, actually this is a good time for questions. You're supposed to wait 7 seconds for questions. That's what the research says. So that was 7. Also, I'd like to remind, if you do not have a piece of paper, this is a good time to get one. Does everyone have a sheet and a pen? Okay, great. I know people have lost track of how to do that. So thanks, Mickey. That was fabulous. I'm going to share my screen now, and hopefully you can see this. Okay. Does this work? There we go. Okay. And do you see some sort of slide here, everybody? Yes, thank you. Okay. So picking up where Mickey described sort of the whole process of getting into understanding sort of the user need and how to define it in a way that you can have a design goal to work towards. Maybe the next step in the process, the way to think about it is, how do you come up with ideas for that? And so what I'm going to talk about is concept generation and creativity, which is sort of the synthesis step here in design. Oh, there we go. So there is a whole creative process. There are many people who study this. So there are literally thousands of papers on creativity, mostly in the psychology realm. And I will say there's actually a well kind of understood process, which is 4 steps. First is preparation, sort of understanding what your problem is, which Mickey described in really great detail in a human-centered design way. And the second is incubation. So this is the part when you are trying to solve a problem and you get stuck. There's no, you kind of hit a wall and you can't solve it. So it's called unconscious recombination of ideas. And it's when you do something else, maybe take a walk around or drive. Some people, the idea will come to them. Thomas Edison, if you can see here, that's a photograph of him. He's a famous American inventor. And he actually literally had a factory of engineers and scientists helping him come up with ideas. But he himself was sort of a font of knowledge. And he recognized the importance of this moment of being unconscious to think of ideas. And so what he would do, he would sit in a chair, and then he would do what you're not supposed to do. Your teachers would yell at you is you would lean back on the last 2 legs of the chair. So he's almost falling. He would have a metal ball, which he would hold in his hand, and then he'd close his eyes and almost take a nap. And in that moment, he would be coming up with ideas. And the reason he would sit in the chair is if he happened to fall asleep, then he would be woken up because he'd fall over and the ball would come out and the clatter would come. So in this way, he would constantly be in this moment of thinking of new ideas, his incubation period. Now, I will say this incubation period is not the same as procrastination. Sometimes people say that I can't solve the problem, so I'm just going to ignore it. So that's not good. You should be sort of intentionally somehow thinking of ideas. but that's the moment. So it's sometimes you just have to let your brain do the work without you actually pushing it. The third step is illumination. And here's a picture of Archimedes, sorry. It's that moment where you realize, hey, I've got a solution. That's the right answer. Does anyone know the story of Archimedes? I'm going to look for, yes. And if you would like to, if you could share it with everyone. Would anyone like to share the story? No. Okay, I will explain it. The idea is here. Archimedes was asked to figure out if a crown, the king's crown, was made of gold. So he didn't know how to do it at that time. They didn't have all sorts of things. So he realized he could use volume displacement of water when he was taking a bath. This may not be a true story, but it illustrates the idea. And when he sat in the bathtub, he realized that was the way to solve the problem. And so he said, aha, a eureka. So that's another way. So there's that moment you know where it's right. And the fourth step is just sort of, making sure that your idea really is correct. So 4 steps of creative process. This is generally understood to be the right approach. But how do you operationalize this? And also, how do you measure it? So there are actually metrics for creativity. How do you know? One is fluency. It's the idea that the number of ideas matters. So if you come up with a lot of ideas, you're considered highly fluent. And I will say this doesn't necessarily mean those ideas are good. They can be bad ideas, but just generating. I have a friend, I call him the human popcorn maker, because he's constantly thinking of ideas. And some of them are terrible and some of them are totally crazy, but he is always thinking. So I consider him very fluid and very creative in that respect. There's also this notion of flexibility, which is your range of ideas, right? I can think of many, many ideas in a very narrow range, but that's not very flexible. In the US, there's a restaurant called Taco Bell. I don't know if you have it in Denmark. Do you have it in Denmark? No. Okay, I will describe. It's a fabulous restaurant. It's fast food. It's Mexican inspired. And they basically have 5 ingredients that they recombine in many, many different ways. So you can make a taco and maybe they have a burrito, but all sorts of variations of basically 5 ingredients. So within a very narrow constraint, they have really made a lot of choices available to you. And it, I love it. Unfortunately, you cannot buy it here. And it's really terrible for you, honestly, but tastes great. So it's a whole range of ideas. And there's also this idea of novelty. So here we have what's known as a chindogu, and it's a Japanese term for unuseless inventions. So they actually are useful ideas. So this is, if you have a runny nose, this will help you have access to a tissue really easily, but it's not socially acceptable. So it's a novel idea. Probably not a whole lot of people would have thought of this solution because they'd be constrained by social acceptability, but it is original. And quality is also an important measure. And that's just if the idea is possible. And most people think in terms of feasibility, right? They think, well, is this something that's plausible? But honestly, and it's an important metric, absolutely. But I think it's an important metric later on in the process, not when you're trying to think of ideas initially. And I'll show you why in a little bit. And the last one is called general consensus. And this is first brought up by Teresa Amabile, who's a Harvard professor in psychology, actually business, and her background in psychology. And her thing is, if everybody thinks something's creative, probably it's creative. It's just, do a lot of people agree that it's creative? So this is how you might be able to judge them. Any questions on this? Okay. I will also say, this is my pet peeve. There's a difference between invention, innovation, and creativity. So invention, it's focused on something that didn't exist before. So this is a chemical composition. I don't know if anybody knows what this is. Any chemists in the room? I have had like 2 people guess correctly, so I was really surprised. Okay, so this is about the vulcanization of rubber. This is a chemical composition that allows that to happen, which makes it less prone to cracking and it more flexible and lasts longer. So it's a big deal. And this was invented maybe 100, maybe almost 200 years ago. So this idea, no, 100 years ago. Innovation is taking something like an invention and applying it in a new way, preferably something useful. So this is a man named Charles Goodyear, who is from the Boston area, where we are right now, or where I am right now. He took vulcanization of rubber, and he figured out how to make it into useful materials. And that eventually, that sort of approach, that patent that he created, and became the basis for a company which was not actually founded by him, but is called Goodyear in honor of him, which is the Goodyear company, tire company. So they were one of the first companies that made these sorts of tires using this approach, and it's now still around. You can still buy tires made by Goodyear, and it's considered a great brand. So it's the innovation about taking an invention and applying it. So they're different things. And the last is creativity, which is related but different, and it's the use of imagination, but it's not always practical. So I'm going to show you this bag here. Does anyone see what's creative, or do you see anything creative about this bag? And you can use the chat if that's easier, or you can just speak out.
It has a shape of stomach.
Yeah.
Translucent part.
Very good. And what do you think? What do you think when you see the stomach? Like, is it a negative or a positive feeling, or what does this trigger in you? Hopefully.
Makes you.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, Cosmos.
Makes you think that you're choosing the food that's going in your body.
Yes, it should be. You should feel like I should have some fruits and veggies. And that was actually a point. So good. This was created by an advertising agency as a way to promote better eating in New York City. So they used it for a bunch of grocery stores. But it's creative. It's sort of practical, but it's not. That's not its main goal. It's meant to be more just creative, inspiring, I think. So idea generation, there's a lot of different ways to be creative, right? There's not just one way. This is from a website that, or a repository of design methods that I and Alice Agogino at University of California, Berkeley, we started. There are literally hundreds of methods for creativity. I don't even know what half these are, honestly, because they're so unusual, but they are used in different companies. But what I'll talk about today is brainstorming, which I think probably many of you have heard of. It's used commonly. But I will say people do it wrong a lot, like all the time. So, which is why I want to share with you kind of the right way to do brainstorming. And it was created by this guy. This is Alex Osborne. He was a advertising executive. So he was a World War II veteran, which is why it's called brainstorming, because he thinks about it as storming like a battle. You should use your brain and you're going to attack things. So he called it brainstorming, and he wrote this book called Applied Imagination, which I think is one of the greatest titles ever. And he came up with the idea of brainstorming, and the rules actually were meant to come up with great advertising campaigns, because he was an advertising executive, but it can be applied broadly. And since then, it's been applied by companies like Ideation, and it's used very widely. And he had a number of rules. I'm not going to go over all of them, but I will go over some of them. And so they are: go for quantity, which is my personal favorite; defer judgment; encourage wild ideas; be visual; build on the ideas of others; and stay focused on the topic. He also says you should have one conversation at a time. And this implies also that you're working in a team. It's not just you solo, although there are strategies that are very closely related to brainstorming that are individually focused. And I prefer the team mode, but also some individual mode. It's a whole other thing. But these are the basic ideas. So you were thinking about that paper I asked you to get. So if you can grab that paper now, what we're going to do is look at that first thing, which is go for quantity. And if you can take that out, what we're going to do before we do anything is we're going to make a sheet that looks just like this one. So you're going to take your pen and you're going to make 30 circles, about, I would say, inch and a half. It doesn't have to be precise at all. It's just you kind of eyeballing it. So there's 5 across. Oh no, that's okay. So I'll give you a minute to sort of make those circles. And I'll continue. So go ahead. And when you're done, if you can look up, that'd be great. So I know that you're done.
How many rows? Sorry.
So it should be total of 30. And so I think it's
Okay.
6 by 5. Yeah. And these look perfect because they're computer generated, but they can be a little bit off. So like these are not great. Okay. So 30 circles, I should mention that, sorry. So 6 by 5. Yes, Madeline, that's exactly the case. The circles always kind of lose their shape. Does everyone, it's just how it, okay, does everyone have their circles? Does anyone need more time? Oh, great, thank you, Sean. Okay, and okay, so let's go ahead and started. So you have your sheet, and what I'm going to do is, don't do it yet, but I'm going to have you draw as many different objects as possible that incorporate the circles. And I'm going to give you one right now, just so you can see what I mean. So that means, so for example, I'll do one object here, which is I'm going to draw a smiley face. And so you can't do the smiley face because it has to be different, different than that one, but use the circles in some way to make objects. Okay. And don't worry about how you draw. This is, we doesn't matter the drawing quality. This is strictly an exercise for you. And any other questions before we do this, before we start? I'm going to give you, I will time you, so you don't have to worry about that part. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start. And I'll let you know the time. You have 2 minutes. And we're going to go for quantity, so just go for speed. You have 1 minute. Thirty seconds. Ten seconds. And time. Okay, if you can put your pencils down, be great. Okay, all right. Shake your hands. Very nice. So I'm gonna just take a look at your objects first of all, and I'd like you to start. So I want to see how many of you drew a bagel, like a bagel or a donut kind of situation. Anybody? If you did, raise your hand. No. Okay. How about, did anyone draw a sun? Yes. Okay, sun. Great, great. Anybody draw a coin, some sort of coin, like a quarter? Okay, couple maybe. Okay, and how about a soccer ball or basketball or any kind of ball, like sports ball? Anybody draw? Okay, a couple of balls. Great. And okay, other things. So what are other things that people drew? If you physically raise your hand or do it in the chat, I can call on you, or you can type it into the chat. So a tiny island group, Soren, could you show us that tiny island group? That'd be possible? If you can hold it up to the camera, or if I can, maybe, oh, no, you don't have a camera on, that's okay. Oh, let me see. Oh, nice, that's great, I love
I
that.
don't think you know if you can see anything.
Oh, you draw inside the circle.
Yeah, there's one inside the circle and then there's some dots around it.
They're dots, that's great. So a little archipelago, not archipelago, but like a little cluster, that's great. Petri dish, these are great. I'm looking at the chat now, sorry. I have 2 screens, so it looks like I'm not looking at you, but I am. Oh, let's see, a basketball, great. We have a dragon embryo, that is so good. I have to see that. The can you hold yours up, Amber? Is that possible?
It's so sketchy. I don't know.
No, it's okay. It's not about the drawing quality. I just sort.
I can attempt.
Oh, it's small.
It's yeah, it's very quite small. It's supposed to be the one on the bottom.
Oh, that's great. I love that. So a very kind of Game of Thrones situation there. That's good. Great. Turtle. Oh, yes. Cheese. So good. Cookie, pie, petri dish. Does it have the bacteria inside? Eyeball, cat. Oh, cats. So can I see the cat from Madeline? Is it okay?
Sure. It's also kind of small. It's on one of my worst circles. He's here.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's so good. Their little face. That's so cute. And I see there's also a pig and bunny related, maybe.
You drew a lot of animal faces. Yes.
Animals are good. Backpack. Ooh, that's interesting. Allison, can we see your backpack? Or I don't know if I can see you.
Sure.
actually. Oh, thanks.
I did it. So, you have the straps.
Oh.
You're looking at the back of it.
Oh, that's what they're hanging, and it's
Straps,
like a little. Got it.
Yeah.
Great. Perfect. So good. That's great. I voted batch. What does that mean, Eric? Is that?
So basically just a badge that shows that like it's kind of like that. Can you see that?
Yeah.
I just wrote I voted in the circle.
Oh, like a voting sticker. Is that what you did?
Exactly.
That's so good. Right. We recently had elections. So good. Okay. Camera lens. That's great. Thanks. Yin yang, definitely. Bottle seen from the top. Lollipop. These are great. You got a kettlebell. Oh, so good. We should be exercising. Okay. Hot hat dish. These are great. So you guys, so I will say, so you will see there's some overlap in some things. So I see sort of themes. So there's animals, maybe food, balls. And there are also ones that are like not so obvious, or dragon embryo. I would imagine nobody else or very few other people did dragon embryo. Islands are sort of unusual. Flag of Japan, that's so good. So what I want you to see here is there's some commonalities and some that are pretty different. So maybe the thing here is, did anyone do eyeglasses or a car or a caterpillar? So sometimes you'll see people take a couple circles and hook them together. That's one thing. And I know I explicitly didn't say that. I'm saying you can use them however you want. So sometimes you'll see variations like that. But you have a nice variety. Apple pie, apple, fruit is a good. So and the idea, the reason this is interesting here is, if you look at the list in the chat, some of you probably thought, yeah, I also drew that. So, and what happens is, the reason go for quantity is interesting is the first couple of ideas that people think of, if I have a group of people and we're all thinking about, ways to improve the way children eat, like making them eat healthier, probably the first couple ideas we all think of are probably the same ideas or pretty close, right? It's very easy. Most people are, intelligent and thoughtful, and they will come up with the first same ideas. But it's when you push yourself to go to those like further ideas, when you go to the idea number 10 or 20 or 100, then you kind of force yourself to think of ideas that are not the same as everybody else's. That's the principle. You increase the probability that you're going to be different if you push yourself a little bit more. So, the first idea, there's a phrase, it's called "don't marry your first idea." So because you don't know, usually the second or third or fourth or 10th will be more different and potentially better. Not always, but somewhat. So that's why going for quantity is a good exercise to push yourself. How many thought it was very easy to come up with the ideas, like very quick, and how many thought so raise your hand if you thought it was super easy to just whip them out. Okay, and how many thought they had to push it a little bit to get, to increase the number of ideas? Push a little. Yeah. Okay, so people are raising hands, but I'm going to assume that in general, people do have to, like, the first couple are easy, and then after that, like 10, it's a little bit harder for people, is a thing. Okay, I want you to count the number of ideas you have that you came up with. How many circles did you use? Okay, everyone counted? As soon as I started using shape bait, yes, 13, 15, 12. Jonas, 28. Okay. Great. All right, thank you. So Jonas, how did you come up with 28? What was your strategy? Do you have a strategy, I guess?
I just looked around in the room and saw whatever was lying around.
You were opportunistic. Is that
Could
right?
say.
Yeah, so I mean, so you're looking around, you're like, okay, lamp, draw the lamp. Is that your strategy?
Yeah, you could say a computer screen, a store, coffee machine, a door, shoe.
That's great. So you didn't think a whole lot. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, like, you were more like, okay, I'm just gonna push myself to get it out, right?
Yeah, for this exercise, I would say.
Yeah, that's a great strategy for this kind of exercise, especially. So you were just kind of like, I'm just going to push through, and I will look at different things to help me. I like that strategy. So that's great. So the trick is, one of the strategies people use is just sort of find as many ways as possible to kind of push yourself. So fantastic, and congratulations. So I normally in real life, if we were together, I would, throw you some candy. We cannot do that, but I'm going to clap for you. So good job. I think you are our highest number this time. Good job. I will also tell you. This is actually a real creativity test. I did not administer it in a official way, so don't view this as a measure of your creativity at all. I completely, we did it over online without the right thing. But there's a thing called the Torrance test of creativity, and this is one of many ways that you can test creativity. So just so you know, there's a strategy. So good. Okay. So the second method we called was brainstorming, and brainstorming is called deferring judgment. And this is the idea that if you come up with an idea, I'm an engineer, so this is what we do: is you look at an idea and you're like, oh, that's a dumb idea, that'll never work, right? That's a very common strategy. And it is important to weed out bad ideas, but not at the beginning. You weed out ideas at the end, way beyond, because the thing is, there's a sort of a psychological thing that is important to recognize when you're generating ideas with people, which is, if I come up with an idea, say Mickey and I are brainstorming, and Mickey comes with an idea, and I come up with idea, and my idea, maybe it's dumb, I don't know, but I come with idea, and Mickey says, that's a dumb idea. How does that make me feel, and how does that impact my ability to work with Mickey to come up with ideas? What do you think happens there? And Mickey wouldn't do this, but if she did, what would happen? Anybody? If you're in a team with somebody and they're like, that's dumb.
You'd probably be really discouraged from speaking out about your ideas again.
That is so good, Eva. That's exactly right. So not everybody, some people are like, whatever, I'm going to keep going. But some people might be like, I don't want to do that. So deferred judgment means you just let the ideas pile up, because you can always winnow down later. And you want the ideas you're going to go for quantity. So you want as many to come up as possible. So there's a time and a place to sort of judge. And the beginning is not the time. So thank you, Eva. That was perfect. And these are just some funny anecdotes. This bottom one, this concept is interesting, but to earn better than a C, the idea must be feasible. And it's from a professor, I actually don't know who, at Yale in economics. And it was said to a student at the time who eventually founded FedEx, the shipping company. So he wrote this as his project as a student, but he had the last laugh. So anyway, these are more just for humor, but examples of where people were a wet blanket, right? Another brainstorming key is to encourage wild ideas. And this is consistent with the deferred judgment thing, which is, it's much easier to take a crazy wild idea and bring it down to scale than to take kind of a basic idea that everybody else has the exact same idea and make it better, right? It's easier to scale down than to go up. So the strategy here is to think about things in different ways. And one common exercise, is called the what if exercise, which is, you imagine, I'm designing something and I think, oh, I have to design it so that it costs $20. But really, if you said, it could cost $1 million, and what would you do? What would be the thing you do? So you can think bigger scale. Or what if gravity didn't exist? You would design very differently than if it didn't. And of course, gravity exists, but it allows you to think bigger in a sort of in a reasonable way. And this, the one I like to give for students, because students will always ask you, they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with their lives, is what would you do if you didn't have to worry about money? What if you had plenty of money, as much as you need, and you know, what occupation or what kinds of things would you do with your life? And that actually is a great thought exercise. Not really for this, it's just more a thing. Next one is to express ideas visually. I'm a big proponent of keeping notebooks of what you do, because it sort of is a way to document your life and any projects you're working on. These are examples of design notebooks from famous inventors. It's a common practice. If you can tell, this first one on the left, does anyone know who the inventor is here? Can anyone tell? And you can say it or you can chat it.
Da Vinci, right?
Da Vinci, very good. And do you know what he's inventing?
Plane of
Plane,
some
very-
sort?
Helicopter.
Helicopter, very good. You guys are great. It's a helicopter, and the one's a helicopter, one's a parachute. So that was good. And this is from the 1400s. So fantastic, well done. Here's another one. This, what is this middle one here? And you can, if you look carefully, I don't know if you can see it, you can actually see what the invention is. Can anyone tell? Okay. So this is by Edison, actually, and this is the phonograph. And the last one, I don't know if you can tell, and you can see a date there, who the inventor is and what they're inventing. It's actually, I think, a little harder.
Is it blockchain?
Sorry, is that, I'm not sure who spoke there.
Is it a blockchain technology? There's
Oh,
just a lot of
blockchain.
blocks.
That's so good. Yeah, no, it's not actually blockchain, but that is a great guess. So it's Enrico Fermi, and it's the nuclear reactor in 1941. The blocks are so good. That's a great one. So I want to point out two things here. So these are notebooks that people kept. These famous inventors kept to track their ideas. You will notice that they're not the fantastic sketches. Well, Da Vinci, yes, but Edison and Fermi, it's not about the sketching, it's about writing the idea down and thinking about things. So expressing it visually in a way you can show to somebody is nice, but really you want to draw for yourself. So I'm a big proponent of drawing, even if it's not the greatest, but just as a way to track ideas, because it holds so much information, helps you think differently. Okay, I'm gonna show you one other model, so we'll ignore the top part. This is an example of a model. This is by a design firm here in Boston called Continuum, and their client was Holiday Inn, the hotel chain, and they wanted to show them, they wanted to redesign the experience of checking into the hotel. So normally what you would do if you're an architect is make some sort of digital model and you can show the client. But what they did is they took 800 sheets of foam core, which is like this white cardboard-like material, and they built a whole hotel lobby in a warehouse. So there's some sustainability issues. Let's not talk about that. But their whole thing was they wanted to show people what the experience is like of being in the hotel lobby. So they brought the executives in, and they could see, well, like, what does the chair feel like? What does it feel like to stand at the stand at the hotel check-in counter? So it's a really powerful way of expressing ideas in a way through prototyping. Okay, so we're gonna close out, unless people have questions. We're gonna do a short brainstorming exercise. And what I'm gonna do, I think I will have people work individually. So this is a little, I'm not gonna put you in groups just for time, which is, so we'll skip that first part of getting into groups of 3 to 4. We'll do this individually. And I want you to think individually about food in the future, which is what will people eat 20 years from now? I'm going to give you not 5 minutes. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to generate at least 10 ideas on your own. So, so you'll work individually. You'll have 3 minutes, and I want you to. What we're going to do is, afterwards we'll share a couple ideas with the class, and we'll talk a little bit. And here I'm going to show you an inspiring photo. And then the rules, again, just to remind you. So we'll do them internally. It's a little different. It's easier to do actually by yourself. Any questions before we go? Okay, I'm going to time you for 3 minutes. We'll go ahead and get started. So working individually, and you can use your paper to write it down because you're going to think visually, right? So start from there. Okay, you have 2 minutes. You have 1 minute. You have 10 seconds. And we have time. Okay. All right. So would anyone like to share some of their one of their ideas? You can either shout it out or you can raise your hand in some way. Or you can also put ideas in the chat if you prefer. Yes, Freda, I think. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but.
Yeah, it's Frederick. I don't know why it only says half my name. Well, I put a bunch of different stuff, but I put algae as one.
Oh, yes. Okay. Algae is the future of food.
Yeah. I mean, I just put a bunch of different food groups rather than like specifics.
Yeah.
Should I go on or just one idea?
Maybe give me one more and then we'll yeah.
I put insects as well.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Snowpiercer, right? That's good. Oh, good. Right. So you're thinking of future sustainable foods. Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, so good. Oh, great.
Yeah, and also like just because of scarcity of foods. I mean, this is 20 years, so perhaps it's a bit yeah, early, but at some point, I reckon we'll have to.
Yes. Different cuisine entirely. Redo everything. That's good.
Yeah.
That's great. Fly burger from flies. Oh my God. Thank you. Thanks, Frederick. Would anyone else want to say something? I know we only have 2 minutes, so we'll have one more. Gluten will be in. Thank you, Amber. So from your mouth to God's ears. That was so good. One more person.
I could.
Yeah, go ahead, Eva.
Sure. I came up with like maybe one nutritionally optimal substance, and it could alter the flavor to make it taste like anything.
Oh my God, like a universal food product.
Yeah, it would just be like a toothpaste that could turn into anything.
That's so good. I would love that. I think how much easier it would be in your life. So that's so good. So a universally, community gardens. That's so good. Vegan diet. These are great. You guys came up with so first of all, you came up with a ton of ideas very quickly. And I know this is only a percentage of ideas. Oh, soup. So good. I also want to know, what did you think of the process? Was it difficult to come up with ideas? It's different on your own, but it's okay. Or I hope you were more okay with having wild ideas. Right? That's the first thing. Everything is Taco Bell. So good. And also, since we have one more minute, I also want to see, did you have any questions or comments general for me or Mickey on sort of design process or just how you design things? Frederick, yes, hopefully that's great observation. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing here. I think what we really would like, I don't know if what we really hope is that you feel, sort of excited about this. Mickey, I know you had a closing slide. Sorry.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Maria. That was super interactive and I think engaging for everyone. So now that you know more about the ideation process, now you want to put these techniques to use. These are some tools for ideation that I personally use. So Mural, Miro, and Google Jamboard. So maybe you can take a screenshot if you weren't aware of these. But they're pretty good. It's very collaborative and people can have Post-its that they drag around, and so highly recommend. And then, yeah, this is just the closing slide. You can learn more about the DFA design process by going to that tiny URL if you're curious. And also, if you're interested in getting involved with DFA at all, we have a Google form that you can fill out that's not binding or anything. But yeah, if you're interested, just visit that tiny URL. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. I hope you guys learned something from this, and feel free to get in touch if you have any questions, lingering questions.
Could you
Awesome.
send the URL in the chat?
Oh, yes, of course.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
So Mickey, I have to run, but it was a good session, and I'll catch up with you later.
Awesome. Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, I'm going to end the session.